Hello, everybody. My name's Tony Cardenas, and this is the Indianapolis Real Estate Market Weekly Update. Today, I'm sitting here with Kyle.morris with FC Tucker, Justin Griffith with Keller Williams, and Shelly Walters with eXp Realty. Hey, Shelly, how's it going today?
Doing great, Tony. Good to see you.
Justin, what's going on?
Happy to be here.
Great. And Kyle, let's kick it off. Let's start talking about what is going on in the market, because home prices are falling, not everywhere, but let's talk about why we're getting a lot of price changes right now here in the market.
Well, I don't know if falling is an accurate term yet. I think we're just seeing, some offers come in under list, and then, this is pretty recent. We've been on top of this for about 6 weeks. So you got to think we really started to see it about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. So we saw the market changing about 6 weeks ago. I think we started to see back on markets and under list price about 3 weeks ago, but none of those are even really closing
But
yet.
let's talk about something that's in the news so we can get the people that want to buy homes or sell homes. They're saying there's a recession, the home prices are crazy, interest rates are up. Let's really talk about what's happening in our market, because it's not all true. We still have houses selling in a couple of days at full list price. In some areas.
And we still have them selling over list to a certain extent, right? Like I just think we're seeing a potpourri of things, quite honestly. And I think that's what everybody's adjusting to, because they don't know.
I love potpourri.
They don't know when they go in to make an offer what this house is going to do. Is it the over list or is it the under list? Is it the back on market house, right? And I think that's what's really kind of changed the dynamic and caused a lot of the anxiety. And then you throw the interest rates, which we've talked about before. And I think it just has people a little bit confused and a little bit of I don't want to say anxiety, but I guess that's the best word, uncertainty of how to approach any given house, right?
Right. Shelly, what are you seeing out there? You're up here in the Hamilton County area a lot. Tell me what you're seeing.
Well, I just think that the main thing we're seeing is a change, and it's not negative or positive. It's just a change, and we need to remember that. And that's just normal with real estate. It always goes through some type of cyclical change. So if I look at my stats from Carmel, though, one of the things I think is interesting and the change that may be a little negative is the prices, as you mentioned a little earlier. The price reductions in Carmel this past 7 days, there were 27. So I don't think we've been seeing that very much.
Nope.
No, and I'll tell you what I saw the other day right down the street here. I could not believe I saw it. I did see a open house sign from FC Tucker. I haven't seen an open house sign for a long time.
We've been doing those, but they usually get canceled because by the time Sunday rolls around, they've got their offers that they need.
And low inventory made it hard to even notice them, right? Because there's just not as much on the market.
Open houses were still happening. So let me just go to the stats, and just kind of give you an idea of how this market's changing. With Carmel, we had 7 houses go back on the market in this past 7 days. So things are falling through for more reasons than before.
Well, does that mean that they just went off the market recently, or was that something from 6 months ago? Maybe they're more ready to buy now. They didn't get the price that they had originally?
No, back on market means that they were sold. They had a pending status. They were getting ready to go to close.
Okay,
and then for some reason, the buyer has decided not to purchase. It could be an inspection item. It could be a mortgage issue. It could be a lot of different reasons. But between the price reductions in 27 and back on market of 7 for just Carmel in the past 7 days, that's a big difference, I think, in what we've been seeing in the past. Only 49 were listed in the past 7 days in Carmel. 22 of those sold, so again, about 15% actually pended, I should say. Currently on the market right now in Carmel is 112 homes. So our inventory is not
That's
low.
a lot for Carmel.
That's a lot. We do not have an
now.
inventory shortage, I don't think. Obviously, that's every price point you could possibly think of, but there are choices. And again, I will just say, I've been taking buyers out, and I'm not just showing one house at a time anymore. We have multiple houses to look at and a price point and to choose from, and they are not going for full list. We did have one that was really interesting story that I think is just showing how things are changing. One of the houses I showed, I got an email the next day stating that the house had been dropped by $26,000. It was a $500,000 house. So
Now, was that in Westfield or Carmel, or where was it?
It was in Carmel. So if it's getting, that's a big drop. But the reason that they gave us is because the seller has a locked interest rate. And their interest rate's getting ready to change if they lose their lock.
Well, I'll tell you what, interest rates got really good today.
Well, if they had an interest rate, let's just say of 4.5 if they were locked, and now we're at 6, they're really getting ready to sell their house for less than they ever thought they could, because now they have to save their money in the purchase that they're
Absolutely.
making.
But let me jump in here real quick on rates. I'm looking at the rate board right now. Look, we've had a tremendous, huge credit in the rates today. You can actually get a 30-year fix today at PRMG Mortgage, Simple Mortgage, a lot of places right now. Guys that will discount. You could get I could lock in a customer today at 5.625 easy. We might even be able to get it down to 5.5. And that would have to be a purchase, a certain credit score, and 20% down. But go ahead, back to what you were saying. I just want to jump in there on the rates a little bit. I feel like there's a little bit of a race coming here, and people need to take advantage of this market. At least make application, get approved, and get their deal locked in.
Well, that's just what I'm saying. The rates are making a difference everywhere. We were talking about how that's hurting a buyer. Well, it's the first time I saw where a seller is saying the rates changing is hurting them and their deal, what they're dealing with. Obviously, they are a buyer. But
that was not a 30-year fixed.
Is that an ARM?
That was an ARM. That was a 5-6 ARM. I just wanted to make sure on that. I read the Mortgage News Daily report wrong, but that was an ARM. Okay, and the fixed rates. Hell, you're damn near there. You're almost there at 5.625, 5.75 on a 30-year fixed. They're close, but people are taking ARMs because they want to save that $300 or $400 a month, subject to the mortgage balance.
Right, and the news everybody we've been hearing is
saying to avoid the ARMs, right?
Right, or marry the house, date the rate. That seems to be the big
marry the house and date the rate.
Yep.
Well, you're only going to date it for a short time because you know what's going to happen. In 3 years, 4 years from now, you're going to see the market turn again. The rates are going to come down. If you look at the Wall Street Journal over the last 30 years, this is what happens. People will get off the ARMs and go right back into the fixed rates. And if they're smart, they'll go from a 30 to a 20 or a 15-year fixed.
If they can afford it.
Right.
The other thing, too, is next year, like if the Fed keeps raising the rate, the rates could end up going even higher than they are now. I just had 2 clients that were signing leases to wait another year.
Right.
I think they're going to be in a worse situation. I know it. Hey, there's some price drops, but where they're looking at are high valued areas, minimal new construction. I've heard of new builders recently too. They're only doing 2 new builds a month, even though they have 10 people signing contracts because they're worried about the cost of materials still.
Yep.
The supply chain. So it's like they're not trying to be left holding the bag. I know there are some builders up here in Carmel that are like in our neighborhood. They're building a lot of specs right now.
Yeah.
But other places like they are limiting what they're starting right now, and that's going to affect pricing too if you're looking in some of those prime areas.
Well, but I mean, people are less concerned about overall, top end price of what they're actually buying. It's the month to month. That's what people actually pay attention to is the month to month. And they're like, oh my gosh, it went up $200, $300. I mean, rent goes up more than that in the past couple of months. But I'm telling you, like this time next year, like it could be 600.
Let me tell you something though. If you're getting an FHA fix today, if you had to lock in a purchase or a refinance, obviously 80% loan to value. I'm telling you right now, the banks won't do this, but the mortgage brokers will. Okay, the mortgage brokers, you could lock in at 4.875. Now that was with extremely good credit, 80% loan to value. That's a 780 credit score, or 4.750. It just depends if you're going 30 or 45 days. That's an incredible rate right now. No, it's not what it was in December at 2.75. It's still high, but you got a little bit of a down tick right now.
So it's tough though because FHA and VA is in a really good situation right now. And they're going to be able to get more offers accepted, and they haven't been able to as well and been as competitive in the past year. But the problem is because even though the rate has gone up, it's better than what conventional is, but the rate's still gone up, and they've lost some buying power.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. It's cost people a lot. But, I feel bad for some of these people that are in the rentals where they just signed another lease that their rental went up $300 or $400 a month. I don't know exactly, but I know I'm close on that. But tell me what's going on in your market, Justin, down in the Indianapolis market. Did we finish yours?
No.
We'll get back to those. Those are fine.
Okay. Let me hear about the Indy market, Broad Ripple, Meridian Kessler.
Yeah, this week in Broad Ripple, there was 8 new listings, 5 of which pended. And there was 5 closings this week. Average price of $333,950. Holy crap!
Yeah,
I'm having tongue ties.
330 though in Broad Ripple. That's just crazy.
Yeah, and of those 5 that sold, 3 were over ask price by about $25,000 on average.
My God! So the market's still good down there.
Well, and you got to figure too that the closings are from 30 to 45 days ago, so those rates have been locked in. Those deals have been set. So
that's when it was still aggressive.
Yeah,
literally.
yeah. So moving forward, like we might start seeing something different that will show a true. Every week it's going to be more and more accurate. It's just lagging data. Last year, the same week, we had 10 sales that were about 40,000 less. So,
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
the values are up.
That's
still
Broad
going
Ripple,
That's
correct?
just Broad Ripple. Yep. Meridian Kessler had 14 new listings this week, average price of 430. Of those 14, only 5 pended. So now we're getting a little inventory. One of these was 1.9 million, so that's going to skew this average a little bit.
Absolutely.
But 6 closings this week compared to 12 last year. But the close price is about 130,000 over
Right.
for the same week. But again,
Exactly.
it's those big listings.
I got you.
Downtown in Fountain Square, we had 9 new listings. 5 of those are pending at 339, and the 4 active ones are sitting at 244. Last year there was 3 closings the same week, so we're right on par with 2. And then Bates Hendricks, we had 17 new listings.
Whoa.
Jeez.
10 of those are still active.
Really?
Yep.
But what's the price down there?
The average sale price on the ones that closed this month, 4 of them were $256, and 2 of those were over asking price.
That's a ton of listings in Bates Hendricks.
Yeah.
In a week.
Yep. And I think that's
What else you got?
Broad Ripple.
You did that?
Yeah,
Oh, we did that. Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah, nothing new in Mass Ave.
What else we got here, Shelly, on your side of the world?
Yeah, so if we go to Westfield, 49 houses were listed, 20 of them pended. In Westfield, we currently have 102 total active listings.
A lot of inventory.
A lot of inventory.
Good.
So looking at days on average days on market of the 7 days, the past
Yeah.
7 days, those pendings was 27 in
Wow.
Westfield.
Okay.
So days on market really went up in the last 7 days for
All right.
that. In Westfield, back on market, there were 3 and 22 price reductions. So 20%, if we're looking at 102 now on the market, 22 price reduction, 20% had a price reduction last
Okay.
week. In Zionsville, 26 were listed.
Ooh, that's
12
good for Zionsville.
It is, yes, that's a lot more. Maybe they've been listening. We keep saying, get your houses listed in Zionsville. Pended
Exactly.
12. Currently fully active on Zionsville is 41. The average days on market of those 7 that pended, 7 days that they pended was 15. And back on market, 3 in Zionsville and 15 had a price reduction. So just a lot of change, I think.
Give me Carmel one more time.
Carmel had 49 complete new listings and 22 of them pended. There's currently 112 total active. Average day on market for those 7 days past that had pended was 12 and 27 price reductions.
Wow. Okay, Kyle, let's move it over to you. Tell me what's happening in your world.
All right. So in Fishers, we had 69 new listings last week, anywhere from 169 to 2.3 million. 36 of them are still active and 33 of them pended. We have 100 total active on the market, so quite a bit. I mean, Fisher's been trending pretty high compared to everybody else. I mean, it's
Yes.
slow. It's a little bit lower than Carmel right now.
How many again available in Fishers?
100.
100. Okay.
100 active. And then in Noblesville, we had 50 new listings, from anywhere from 150 to 850, and 24 of them are still active. 26 of them are pended. So there's 87 still total active on the market. And as we're sitting here talking, I was kind of thinking, we've got a little bit of inventory, and days on market is continued to increase here a little bit.
Absolutely.
We listed 4 houses last week, and it's interesting. I actually, because of the past year, I saw more traffic on day 4, actually, right? Because people have kind of pivoted, and then I was slammed with showing. I mean, we had showings out the gate, right? But it's almost like people are waiting to make sure it's not the one that goes over list, and then I'm slammed with showings, right? And then you got to think too. So average days on market is going up a little bit. 4th of July week is historically a really slow week here in
Yes.
Indiana.
Yes, it
and
is.
so that week would be a really good week for buyers. But the interesting thing is all those houses, because of days on market, will actually go on the market this next week.
Exactly, because here's what you got. You got a big vacation week starting right now. I'm not going to even say next week. I mean, it's starting right now. And then people want to sell their homes, and it seems like a lot of people, when they want to buy a home or they haven't found what they want, they come in panic, and now they want to get into a new home, the kids, school, moving, and everything. There's a big rush getting ready to happen, isn't there?
There is, and it's kind of odd because unless you're moving, unless it impacts like your family to a certain extent or something like that, where school may come into play, I mean, we're letting the market dictate our moves, and we don't need to. Like, it's an inconvenience, but you can still get a good house.
But your buyer doesn't understand that.
That's on me as an agent to explain
right.
that.
You as a professional understand that. But not all, a lot of agents just out there, they want to sell something, and I understand that, okay? But buyers don't have the knowledge that you guys have, okay, and they need to understand the market a little bit. This is why we do this podcast, so it can fall on some ears, so they can get a little bit of education before they go out there and buy something.
Well, I think the biggest thing we preach is understand our timelines, understand what we're looking for. If you have the proper expectations with the timelines up front, then we never let the market dictate what we're going to do, unless a specific house dictates what we have to do in a given day. But outside of that, I just am not a believer that the market should dictate our moves, because we're the participants to the marketplace. They shouldn't be dictating our timelines. If we go into it far enough in advance, then you still have total control of the situation within like one given house and one given offer, right? But for the most part, price it right.
Yeah, you just can't reach for these prices now. Like the sellers are like, oh, hey, let's just go 30,000 over what the neighbors sold for, and it's like, well, your house is smaller, it doesn't compare at all, and they're like, all right, that's what I want. So you're not having that, and if you do have that, those are sitting extra long.
There's your 27 price reductions that keep happening.
That's exactly right, Justin.
And then it looks bad.
That's exactly right, Justin. But what you're seeing now is some of these prices are coming down, and when you see prices coming down, I can see prices coming down $5,000 or $10,000, but when you see prices coming down $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, if it was just listed a couple weeks ago, I just have to say was that house really priced right in the beginning?
I mean, it's such a specific situation to speak to, quite honestly. I think what it really speaks to more is seller panic.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm seeing 25K drops and stuff like that.
And there's nothing like chasing the market as a seller. And so that's why you have to, in the very beginning, look at that. And again, we keep saying, like you were just talking about, we're looking at sold stats from 45 days ago.
Yep.
Those stats are so skewed right now for you to market a house today. You really have to look at what it was listed at and not what it was sold at, because I think that's where some of the issues are if they're not really looking at the stats, because these 45-day numbers are old. And just think if somebody's going back 6 months to look at comps, it's just way too far back.
And like that's what I was kind of bringing up at the beginning. So all the stuff that we're seeing as far as this data is tracking to a certain extent of like back on markets and price reductions and all this stuff, that won't really impact for 30 days for the closing. So it's going to be more interesting to see 45 days out how that starts trending, you know what I mean? Because that's what, agents will start comping against and everything like that. And you're going to start to really see it more like beginning of August, mid-August, the stuff that's happening now.
Well, and I think you were talking about seeing all your showings happen on that fourth day. One of the things I'm noticing when I go out, if we're looking at the houses, is looking at that price and wondering if on the fourth day they say they want an offer, are you really going to be able to get an offer on the fourth day? Because I've actually had some agents call me and say, what should I do? I have this information on agent-to-agent remarks that the offers are due on Sunday night. We don't have any. I'm like, remove the mark, remove it. Yeah. Because people are saying that still. But do you really think you're going to get an offer in the first 4 days today?
No.
Maybe not. So I think people need to be really careful about forcing those offers and saying that, because to your point, what you just said, Kyle, is we may not look at it, because if I see a house that I think is a little overpriced and now they're forcing that offer in within the first 4 days, and in this market as we slow down, it just may not be something that we want to compete against. And so it's something I think people really need to think about. Can we really get those offers in 4 days anymore?
And it's nice having inventory too, that like, hey, if it doesn't work out, we'll find something else. I mean, yes, some are selling within 7 days.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, half of all the listings that I list, I mean, just downtown are sold, like within 7 days. So the market's still moving.
Last week, sold in 12 hours.
Yeah.
Right. But as we're looking, it's not the norm anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's, I think this weekend, honestly, I'm going to drive around a little bit. I really think you're going to see some signs out, which is kind of nice to see, a house for sale. It's kind of nice to see the directional sign, open house this weekend. Yeah, the house might not make it, but it's still nice to see that, because we're getting back into a normal market where a buyer actually has some choices of when they're spending $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. They don't have to buy that house. They got 2 or 3 or 5.
And they have time to think a little bit too.
Right.
I did second showings too. I mean, going back and showing the house for a second time.
And having time to do it.
Yes.
Well, and so not just like to what Tony's saying, not just, people getting out to open houses. That's how people used to pre-plan a year in advance, right? And like we're getting back to that where so you're not even dealing with an active person in the marketplace. It's somebody who is like, I think in the next 18 months, I may move. Let's start getting out and looking. And they start to like catch that fever, so to speak. And we're starting to have that luxury where buyers get to do that again, and they don't feel rushed into making like the most important financial decisions of their entire life.
Facts.
Exactly. So, what do you guys think that's going to happen to the building market right now? I mean,
it's slow. I mean, like I said, it depends.
It's changing.
Yeah,
I mean,
but like they're trying to hedge their risk right now too. So cost of materials keep going up. So it's like they're having you sign contracts like, hey, this is the price you're agreeing to now. However, this could go up 20%, 10%. It really just depends. Limiting the new construction in certain neighborhoods where like they're only doing 2-3 new builds a month, even though they have 14 in the queue. And it's a lot of risk. They keep saying the rates go up. Like you don't know if a buyer is going to fall through. They're no longer qualified.
But to offset it, though, I'm also, at least this weekend, I saw people offering incentives on lot premiums, like dropping price, a little bit. And then I also saw somebody offering to buy down if you use the lender of the preferred lender of the builder, right? That they would buy your rate down 2%. So when's the last time you saw builder incentives? So even though they're still hedging their bets on costs, they're still actually also hedging their bets on the purchase bring in buyers.
It's funny you said that because I called some friends of mine down in Lakewood Ranch, Florida, which is right outside of Sarasota, and I asked a girl down there, Jenny, that, hey, what's going on with your lot prices? She goes, you know what? We have pulled our premiums up, and she says, we're not discounting it. And that was just last week. Of course, a completely different market.
Totally.
Okay. But they're getting premiums. She goes, we still can't catch up with our builds. I mean, it's eventually going to trickle down there. It always does. You know what I mean? The most popular areas in the United States are some of the last ones that get affected. You know what I mean? But I think this market's changing. Obviously, it's not all bad. It's really good for some buyers. I don't think the seller on an okay property is not in the greatest driver's seat that they could have had 6 months or a year ago. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think it's actually great. I mean, we're going back to a more balanced market. I mean, if you price a house correctly, it'll still sell at that price, as long as you set the expectations with the seller as an agent, right? Just don't adjust the price. Don't freak out because it hasn't sold in 10 days because per the numbers, it's most likely not going to. That doesn't mean that you're overpriced anymore, quite honestly. It's more like it takes 20 days to sell a house anymore. Like that's just kind of what you're looking at. And then so for buyers, I just think you can still get the prices you want as long as you price it correctly. And as a buyer, you're back in the game.
Yeah, and it gives the seller some time to look too. You put your house up at the market, boom, it's gone. Like what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
But anyway, in this market, if you had to give somebody a piece of advice looking at houses in the next week or two around this coming holidays weekend, what would your piece of advice be, Justin? If you had to give them one or two?
Patience. I mean, right now, I think you can find deals. I think that you can make your money work better for you. Rates are actually down today quite a bit, which is a great
nice
thing. But I do think next year, rates could be significantly worse. So even though people right now are having sticker shock with these new rates, this might be better than next year when you're going to have less buying power.
That's exactly right. Shelly, what would you tell somebody to think about in the next couple of weeks? Don't use what he just said.
No, I think one of the things we're hearing everywhere is it's still a very, very good time to buy and sell. And everybody needs to understand that is it's always going to be changing and we do not know where it's going. And we just wanted to let everybody know that it's still possible. There's a lot of inventory and you can still buy and get a house that you really need to move into. Don't worry about all the stuff going on around you. Like Kyle said, it's just don't let everything dictate you. Do what you need to do for you and your family and hire an agent that can help you guide through that process.
Yeah, don't buy a home without a real estate agent. I'm telling you right now, or don't sell one. Kyle, if you give somebody some advice in the next couple of weeks, don't tell them to go to Hawaii like you're getting ready to go. What would you tell them?
Well, A, I don't think it's fair that I got to go last. B, I felt like Shelly said three things in one thing. So
okay.
I was just going to say, just make sure you use a professional. You use an agent who's in it, and I mean somebody who's in it a lot and does not just buys or not just sells, like somebody who is on both sides of it. I think that really, really matters. I think that's one of the reasons the three of us have been so on top of it is because we are on both sides of it, right? And I knew what was going on with buyers ahead because I knew what was happening on my listing. So then I could better represent my buyers, and I've been able to get them some really good deals here in the past few weeks because I knew what was actually, we're selling houses, but I also know my showing requests. I know what kind of offers I'm getting, and so I just have a better pulse on the market. So that's the bigger thing. I would just say make sure you have good representation out there of somebody who's just in the game enough.
And Shelly, you got another thing to say.
Well,
What
Kyle,
is it?
I like what you just said. Is if you know somebody, if your agent understands the listing process and has selling, they work with sellers and they understand how this market's changed in the past 4 weeks. That is an excellent way to say you know how to guide your buyers because we're watching how it happens on the inside where nobody sees. All the showings,
the feedback,
all the feedback, and all the so-called offers that are supposedly coming that don't come, or the offers that do come. We have that insight to help our buyer go, this has really changed. So when I go to make the offer for our buyers today, we aren't saying, you need to do 25,000 over and all this because we just saw what happened for the past 4 weeks with our sellers. But I do want to say there's a conversation out there that this market, we're getting ready to go into the 4th of July week. Everybody always asks, should we list on June 28th, 29th, or should we do it July 5th? What do you think?
I always list it. Like if it's on the weekend, typically don't list it. I'll wait till the following week. I don't even know what day 4th of July is.
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday. I would wait until afterwards.
What would you do, Kyle?
Or even have it
honestly,
up on the week before. Yeah.
I think with current situation with days on market, I would list next week. I wouldn't list the following week. Right?
Gotcha.
So I would either list the last week of June or the right after 4th of July. I just, in general, wouldn't list that holiday weekend.
Right.
So like Thursday, Friday of next week is the 29th, 30th, or whatever.
I'd do that all day.
You
except
would?
for I'll be in Hawaii. But yeah, like my team would do that all day.
See, I just think you should wait till July 5th, in my opinion. And you just said that for days on market and everything. Everything is quiet. Everybody's just, that's my opinion. And that's something I see a lot of agents asking, what should we do?
But the interesting thing is, so like if I represent a buyer, though, I'm going to tell them this is when we need to be out there.
Yep.
Because, you'll get a deal.
You're competing with
just
nobody.
will.
Yeah,
Like minimal people.
Right. But that's where the seller is going to understand there's no competition with the buyers for your house.
Yep.
So you
That's
just
fair.
said why.
That's
It's
fair.
not
That's
reason
fair.
that
That's
I
fair.
wouldn't list it on that.
I love
type
that. Okay. Hey, everybody, thanks for coming on the show today. I appreciate everybody's updated market information. And this show has been brought to you by Executive Portfolio Magazine. Go to the internet, look at it. It has a lot of house inventory on it. They do sponsor the show. And if you want to get a hold of anybody, how can they get a hold of you, Kyle?
Call or text anytime, 317-649-5122.
And what company do you work for, Kyle?
FC Tucker, Morris Property Group. I'm sorry, I'm sitting here looking at this thing and I'm trying to understand why we got seagulls on the Indiana real estate market.
Okay, they're not. I swear to God, I'm going to kill them. Hey, yeah, they're big pigeons. Justin, give us your name and how they can get a hold of you and your company.
Keller Williams, Indy Metro Northeast. Best way to reach me is cell 317-507-5599 or fishers.realestate.
So they can't buy a home from you if they're on the northwest side?
You can buy a home from me anywhere.
Okay, so northeast. Okay, you're
Within an hour.
I'm jacking with
Lawrence,
Within an hour.
call.
you. Shelly, tell them how to get a hold of us and get a hold of you and take us out.
Gas 565. We're staying away from that.
You guys can reach me on my cell phone at 317-201-2601. I'm with EXP, Shelly Walters Realty Group. Have a great day and a great week.
Hey everyone, Holly here. Thanks for listening to the Indianapolis Real Estate Market Weekly Update. Need a professional real estate agent? Reach out to one of our realtors on the podcast. Shelly Walters with eXp Realty, Greg Cooper with Compass Real Estate, Kyle.morris with FC Tucker, and Justin Griffith with Keller Williams. This podcast is sponsored by America's Best Mortgage by PRMG, 317-214-6720, and ExecutivePortfolio.com, the #1 real estate magazine in Greater Indianapolis.